definitely creating content that helps people is really the solution.
What really works is building a community, consistently doing events like webinars, and producing content specifically for certain categories.
You earn that raise and you earn that job.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Future Fuzz's digital marketing podcast with a B2B focus. Today's episode is sponsored by AIMFOX. If you're looking to make meaningful connections on LinkedIn, do check out the platform. We'll give you more information at the end of the show. Today, I'm joined by Aleksandar Besarovic, who is the CEO of AIMFOX, a LinkedIn outreach tool designed to enhance networking efficiently. Before founding AIMFOX in 2022, he co-founded Constellation, which was tackling digital marketing challenges and has experience working at Ernst & Young as a senior fraud expert. With a background in international law from the University of Belgrade, Alex combines his legal expertise with entrepreneurial insight and drive. Today, we're going to dive into cold outreach and best practice for LinkedIn connections. Alex, thanks for being a sponsor and welcome to the show.
Hey, Justin, thank you for having me. Very, very happy to be here. As you know, I'm very passionate about the topic of cold outreach in general. Been doing quite a lot of that for the past 10 years or so. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this very much.
Brilliant. So how did it all start? Because you actually, with your companies and development teams that you worked with, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you begin in the world of cold email?
Yes. So we began, basically our first go-to-market strategy for the first product that we launched in 2017, we heavily relied on cold emailing. On top of that, at that point, we also relied a lot on text message, sending out cold text messages to prospects and leads. And that actually turned out to give us really, really good results. So this was in 2017. And basically we launched the first version of our Instagram organic Instagram growth tool. And we used practically a combination of cold emailing and SMS, sending SMS messages. And we grew in the first 2.5 months from 0 to 80K MRR just from using those two channels. So that's kind of how we started our outreach.
Brilliant. And then why did you decide to move into the world of LinkedIn?
So I think it was kind of like a natural progression. We started with Instagram in 2017. We really grew the brand starting from 2019. It came to be very successful, and it gave us the luxury to be able to kind of think about new projects and to kind of have the funds to invest in new stuff. It just allowed us to build over the years, build a good team. We have 55, 60 people in our team. AIMFOX was something we've been eyeing for a few years. So I think we started working on the first version of what is AIMFOX now. So the LinkedIn outreach tool in 2020. And then we only launched, that was the early days, but we really launched the market ready version in just a few months back in November 2024. So I think just as the whole lead gen space has been expanding so much over the last few years, we really identified a gap in the LinkedIn outreach vertical, because the space is kind of riddled with all of these tools, but we feel that all of these tools are falling short and are not really as good as they should be. So we decided to give it a try and kind of just build the best LinkedIn outreach tool on the market.
Brilliant. Let's dive into the LinkedIn thing, right? So there's lots of tools out there in the market that enable you to make connections. You can do automation. You can follow people. You can write messages. There's analytics. You can, integrate with Sales Navigator and build lists of people that you want to target. I'm sure you can also upload, basic lead lists as well. Let's go into that issue that LinkedIn technically does not allow the use of automation tools, yet loads of people use them. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, well, like from LinkedIn's perspective, like, every network, be it Instagram, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, they all want to make sure that they kind of keep a sort of a monopoly on any like monetization potential throughout their platform. However, what we're seeing definitely like over the years is, like due to like a whole bunch of like anti-monopoly regulation and everything, is that these platforms are opening up. So, LinkedIn is kind of very straightforward. They give you a certain bracket of interactions you can do on a weekly basis. And pretty much as long as you stay within those limits, so as long as you don't exceed those limits, you are, generally speaking, you're okay. Now, why generally speaking is, LinkedIn is something a lot of people neglect to realize, is that LinkedIn is a network that really relies on authenticity. So, it's not a network that allows you to build, buy fake LinkedIn accounts and just scale and just blast the network. So it's all about it's all about just really being relevant. And as long as you're not abusing those terms of service of LinkedIn, you are safe to use a tool that stays within those limits, and that obviously does not raise any major red flags.
Yeah. So so technically, if you look at LinkedIn's terms and conditions, they do not allow you to use automation tools, but everybody does, right? Yeah. As long as you do it within reason and you provide value and you don't spam people and do it at a crazy scale, you should be okay, right? But it's quite rare now. It was quite common before, not common, but some people were getting blocked by LinkedIn in the past, but they probably were going aggressive spray and pray approach and getting blocked, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Especially a few years back, you were able to do a lot more interactions on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden, all the tools had to kind of recalibrate and find a new way to work within the limits that LinkedIn allows you. Yes, per se, if you ask LinkedIn, they're not gonna say, hey, go use an automation tool, because they want you to use their ads and use all the sales nav and all the services that they want to upsell you to. Yeah. So there is a conflict of interest there, kind of. But they're definitely, still, even to this day, a lot of tools will get you banned. But that's the reality of it. And that's one of the reasons why we really found it interesting to kind of dive into this, is because, we see issues, red flags that these tools are raising. For example, one of the things LinkedIn really doesn't want you to do is they don't want you to scrape their network, Yeah. And a lot of these tools, when you connect your LinkedIn account, a lot of these tools use, clients' LinkedIn account to scrape all this data. And from our experience, that's where the issue occurs. So when you use client accounts to do these actions that raise red flags. Now, what we do differently is, for example, we don't use client accounts to scrape data for their campaigns. We have our own accounts in the background that we use to collect the data from LinkedIn and kind of inject it into the campaigns for the clients.
And when you say client accounts, so that means that you would go inside a client account, you connect it with Sales Navigator, and then you scrape directly from the profiles account. Is that what you mean?
So basically, how you use AIMFOX is you come to the platform, you connect your LinkedIn account, and when you connect your LinkedIn account to AIMFOX, you're able to automate a series of actions sending connection invites, sending message requests, sending messages, emails. However, when you're doing the prospecting part, when you're identifying the leads you want to engage with, that's where basically with our setup, we don't do the heavy lifting in terms of data scraping from clients' accounts. We use our own accounts for that. So that's kind of one of the things that sets us apart.
Yeah. Okay. So you're mitigating the risk. So if someone came to me and said, you need to use LinkedIn more. You need to make more connections, and they work in a pretty interesting niche. And I said, you can use these tools. They're great. You can make some connections and start some meaningful conversations. And they said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to get blocked. But what it sounds like to me is that if you are doing it within reason and you're careful about what you're sending and you're using the great tools like AIMFOX, the risk of you being blocked is very, very low, right?
I mean, we, like, on a system level, the only time we see blocks happening, and I'm being very transparent, is practically when people, for example, say, hey, I don't want to like risk my real LinkedIn account, so I'm just going to create a new one,
Like a fake
a fake one to test if the platform is safe.
Yeah.
And then that fake account like triggers a red flag and LinkedIn asks it for verification. And and you get in this loop where you're like, oh, okay, I knew they weren't safe. And then we have to go through the process of like educating our users and telling them don't do that. Like, because, the problem is not with AIMFOX. The problem is like you create a fake account and you start interacting all of a sudden, and LinkedIn challenges you and says, okay, I want to verify if this is a real person or not. And you can't pass the verification. So it's a chicken and egg kind of problem.
Yeah, of course. Don't create fake accounts. And I saw an article recently, and I need to dig it out and I'll put it in the show notes, where LinkedIn in the last 18 months has been clamping down big time on fake accounts. They're deleting accounts. That's why you have to go through that verification process, right? In some countries, it's asking you to upload a passport or some other form of ID, right?
Exactly.
Listeners to the show love to hear like real great tips. So what you make a connection on LinkedIn. What is the best practice there? What's the best message to send? Do you send a message when you make a connection? What would be the things that you see working really well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share a note, actually a tip I got from a lead that we were outreaching to. And I think it's very, very relevant. And, we send them a message, very direct, like value proposition, what we do if they're interested. And they told me, and the lead just answered, and it really stuck with me. It's, you're asking me to marry without taking me out on a first date. So that's like one of the issues I see a lot, why people are not like getting good results, is because they're just they're not like respecting the process. They're just like going, hey, connection request with a note that says, hey, if you need website development services, I can build you a website. You can't do that on a network that doesn't allow you to scale to millions of messages a day, because that's practically spam, So I'd say like the key thing is really first understand your ICP. So once you have an understanding of your ICP, then you can really like think through the whole reach out sequencing and how you want to approach it. So I would say in a lot of cases, hey, just send a simple connection request without the initial message. Use AIMFOX to wait a few hours maybe, or a few days before sending them the message. And then say, for example, hey, I see we connected a few days ago. I see and then you use a hook to open up a conversation, and use that hook, use a hook that is like something that they relate to. And a good thing about AIMFOX is we give you all of these variables that you can use to set up the messaging. So you can use like their company name, or how long they've worked at a certain company, or some skills that they have expressed on their account, some users that they follow. So, use the data that we give you to really make a powerful hook, and then simply wait for that reply to come in. And then when the reply comes in, just like, go for a date first, before you ask them to get married. So that's kind of how I like to set it up.
Yeah, I like it. Go for a date before you ask to marry. Yeah, very good.
And who knows? I mean, you might get lucky on the first date. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's called getting lucky, which is like a lucky strike.
And it's a game of numbers. If you reach out to like with one LinkedIn account, you can reach out to like 60, 70 people a day, with different forms of connection requests, message requests, free emails. When you stack those on top of each other, you can reach out to like 60, 70 people per day. But the real thing is like with AIMFOX is like on my campaigns that I run, that my team runs, we get like a 50, 60, sometimes even more acceptance rate to our connection requests. So if you do the targeting right, your connection request is going to get accepted, but then it's up to you to make that connection request count, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. One technique that I've seen working really well is connecting to people on LinkedIn and then sending over statistics, sending them interesting, useful information, and say, hey, we're doing this, regarding, an analysis or some research. Would you be interested in seeing the statistics that we've, found? And the reply rate's been really, really strong. With lots of busy people there, a lot of people don't have time these days, or they maybe get too many messages. But with that one, the reply rate was really, really strong. And then that led to further conversations because we were trying to provide a bit of value and something that could be genuinely interesting for people. I think if you go with the straight out the block sales message, bam, 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 it's going to be very, very tricky. And it's also going to be very annoying as well. And I think that we had the CEO of Woodpecker on the show some episodes ago, and she said you also don't want to annoy people, because the minute that you annoy someone and you're not providing that value, you're gonna get into trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, when I look back at like cold outreach in like 2017, like my impression is that like before you could be a lot more direct. Like it was a lot easier to kind of like break through the ice and get the conversation going, and like, 10 years ago, it was just like, if you target your ICP well, you just need to send them a message and you're going to be good. Now you kind of have to like do all these advanced strategies to make sure that you kind of, get their attention. Because what your inbox looks like, both on emails and on LinkedIn. It's flooded with irrelevant reach out. So yeah.
And what other guidance would you give for people for being active? So if you do connection requests, does it also make sense to then be very active and post a lot on LinkedIn and engage with other posts? What's your guidance there?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. So that's the part where you like nurture the leads that you get. So, look at like when you do the outreach. So first of all, like a lot of people, for one, are not using a LinkedIn automation tool. Now, they're afraid because, as you said, like a lot of people don't think it's safe. If you find the right tool, it's safe. So to begin with, start using a LinkedIn outreach tool because it's going to make your life a lot easier. So, and then look at that as a funnel that kind of brings you the relevant leads to your LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Then once you get those leads, then the nurturing process begins. And, it's all about like, maybe you're not going to close them on the first or in the second message, but they're going to stay in your network. They're going to engage with your content, and that's And maybe in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months from now, your offer is going to be relevant. Because we all know that, like, there are a few pillars when it comes to like outbound sales. One of those pillars is timing. You need to get the timing right. Because, maybe they have an annual contract that is expiring in 4 months with a competitor. So they don't want to really look at you now, but they want to like take a rain check on that. So I think having an active LinkedIn profile, and a LinkedIn profile that is like very professional looking, is something that like definitely users should focus on. And honestly, it's not that hard. You just kind of need to get into the habit of posting the things you talk about with your friends and colleagues. And I know I'm like, oh, okay. Like when we have a discussion in the office, I'm like, oh, I want to bring this up on my LinkedIn account because I know my audience would appreciate it. So
That's a very good idea. And do more video content as well, right? Something that we're big proponents of. Do video content, do video interviews, post that on your LinkedIn. Very powerful too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure. And honestly, yeah.
Do you have any statistics that you think to the top of your mind, Alex? Like how many people are using LinkedIn automation tools as a percentage? Do you have any idea?
That's a good question. There are like over 1 billion users on LinkedIn currently. And LinkedIn is a business network, so everybody's there to do business. It's like a gold mine for B2B. How many people are using a LinkedIn outreach tool? Honestly, it's hard to say, but I still think it's only a fraction of what that number could be. Again, I think like what's hurting the industry a lot is that that worry that your LinkedIn account is going to get banned. That's probably the biggest thing people worry about. And with all these like bad services out there, a lot of people got banned, and there's a lot of like and I don't want to say this is like it's false. It's true. Like if you don't use a proper service, like there are shady solutions out there. So on the top of my head, I don't know. I can tell you that in terms of our user base, so from November 2024 up until March, beginning of March now in 25. So a bit over 3 months, 4 months, we got over 7,500 users on our platform. So there is demand for this, for sure. But and I think it'll be expanding. And one of the reasons I think why it will be growing is because on one hand, cold emailing is becoming harder and harder to crack down on. It's just getting harder to succeed on cold emailing. And then like all of these sales teams and agencies are looking for alternatives that they can kind of stack on top of their emailing outbound.
Right. 100%. I know that LinkedIn say they have like 1 billion users or something like that, like worldwide. But then, very few of them are actually active. Like they have a profile and then they need to be active. And then there is a crazy stat like people that post like once a day. I think we need to check this, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of it, that people that post daily on LinkedIn is less than 1% of all users.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
even lower than 1%, right?
Completely believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That number makes sense.
It makes sense, right? And then if you do a search, when you go into Sales Navigator and you select your audience, you can also select who's been active on LinkedIn, like who's posted. And I think that window of posting is 90 days, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite a big window for posting something, right?
I mean, compare it to like Instagram or like, other like, it's like, it's insane. Like,
crazy, right? It's insane.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so I give you an example. So like and by the way, we're using AIMFOX right now, everybody. So, it's an amazing tool. You should check it out. So I'm building my list of who I'd like to make connections to. And I'm going after C-level executives, right? Business leaders, CEOs, etc. Now they're very, very busy people. They're not always active on LinkedIn. I pulled a list of 2,000. Okay. Based on my criteria. And then I toggled that little thing to say, have they been posting recently on LinkedIn? And I toggled that. And my list reduced by 60%. So I had 40% left of the original list. That's quite an impact, right? And you want to be engaged, because not everyone's active on LinkedIn, but you want to be engaging with those who are. That's a good practice.
I can kind of, if you want, I can share a tip that can help you find really those active users. So with AIMFOX, you can do different types of campaigns. One of the campaigns you can do is a post campaign. Basically, the way that works is you just give AIMFOX a URL of a post on LinkedIn that you like, and AIMFOX scrapes all the users that engaged with that post. So either they like reacted to it, they left a comment, they reshared it, whatever. And for example, there you can identify really the active users, users that have reacted to a post that was posted like 2 days ago, So that's a good way to find active users. And then also, it's also a good way really to like kind of like use that post as the hook topic for your message, because it's still fresh in their memory.
So that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. There's definitely been some trending posts that I've seen recently. A lot of them very political at the moment. So I'm going to dive in. So the political details. So you know what I'm saying?
LinkedIn is turning into X, more and more every day.
Well, I hope not. But I would say that X is the angry platform, and LinkedIn is there's some sprinklings of political posts, of course, but there's always seem to be the best and most interesting posts are always the ones that are related to business. I think it's also demographic wise as well, right? You and I, Alex, we're probably not that active on Instagram as we were before, maybe. And LinkedIn's, our go-to, I guess.
Like, full disclosure, I don't even have an Instagram anymore.
Let it go, right? Haven't done for a long time. LinkedIn is number one for me. I think I'm on there like an hour a day. Yeah.
It's where like business people come to kind of like, like follow industry trends, find new business and expand. So it's becoming a lot more as we're getting older, it's becoming more and more relevant,
Exactly. We're just getting older and grayer on. Yeah. You, okay, just to finish up. So you launched the platform and then you did some promotion around it to scale up and have a strong base of customers. Can you give any advice to those out there that are launching a software or a platform on how you can really get the ball rolling to get users adopting the platform?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I can basically tell your audience like what we did, but like it all revolves around just like kind of having like a real go-to-market strategy. It's not just like, hey, I'm just going to launch my product and I'm going to see how it goes. We did that and that failed. And then we kind of had to like rethink the whole process. So how we did our launch of AIMFOX in November, we broke it down into a few phases. First phase, we wanted to go on AppSumo, which is like a lifetime deal platform, which really, like, if you have a good product, it's really going to kind of like give that initial kick, get you a lot of users, and give you the initial audience. So, in November, we go live on AppSumo. We did like almost like 300K in USD in sales. But most importantly, we got like 2,500, 3,000 users from that, and in a month. So you kind of like you're kind of like fixing all of these leaks, making sure that like the platform is stable. That allowed us to build an audience that we can talk to, get feedback from, and that we can leverage for the next initiative. Our next go-to-market initiative was a product hunt launch in December. So right after that, we did a launch on Product Hunt, and we got product of the day, product of the week, and we got third product of the month. And a big part of that was, of course, the audience that we built a month back, that we started building a month back through AppSumo. So we achieved two things in those 2 months. We got a lot of users. We made some money. We got a lot of users, and then we got like the social proof that AIMFOX is a good tool. So we got the Product Hunt badges, but we also got like a lot of reviews, like hundreds of reviews from our users. And that kind of set us up for the next phase, which was in January, which was basically, starting to work on that MRR and start attracting all of these agencies, all of these sales teams, all of these lead gen experts, but you need to build up like a platform on which you're going to start like expanding.
Yeah.
So that was kind of last 3-4 months for us. And then you need to figure out, like, once you know who your ICP is, you need to figure out how to reach out to them. So, use LinkedIn, use cold emailing, and always try and think outside the box, because in your specific case, there might be some specific things you can do that can help you scale. And an advice I always give, and I mean, trust me, because this is based on personal experience, is, don't rush paid ads. For me, like, I think paid ads are like probably the last initiative you want to do once you iron everything out. So yeah.
Great tips and great advice there. So Product Hunt, I guess, has been key, and also AppSumo is a great platform as well. And, there are others out there as well. Some of them, for example, like G2. Yeah. Just lastly, Alex, we've seen some changes to LinkedIn. So if you'd looked 12 months ago, you would have seen less video on LinkedIn. Now we're seeing more. They've kind of integrated, like, I would say, a TikTok style, way that you can discover video content. Do you have any predictions on where the platform is heading? Any new features that might be coming up?
That's a good one. I think definitely they're going to be doubling down on video content, and specifically on short form video content, because I think like the whole world is going in that direction. I think the attention span, we're just all so overloaded with information all day long, and our attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And 10 years ago, you were like, okay, like, TikTok is a platform that's used by kids. But honestly, I use TikTok, for example. I don't use Instagram anymore. But I think these kids are growing up, and the habits that we all have are just going to be just like more and more visible as we get older.
Yeah.
So I think LinkedIn needs to kind of hop on that train if they want to stay relevant and if they want to build engagement on their platform, because I think that's their biggest obstacle. It's how do they get users to post more,
Of course.
Because on Instagram and on TikTok, people are posting. Why are they not posting as much on LinkedIn? And so I think that's why they're playing around with video content, and especially with short form video content in the future, just because they want to make it easier to get like as much content out there as possible, so their platform stays relevant.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think that's key. My prediction is that LinkedIn will launch a podcasting platform. Where Google failed, I think LinkedIn can succeed because they want to keep users in the LinkedIn environment. And there's so many people promoting video podcasting and video content, especially like sending people to YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. So Spotify is pushing people to post more video, and Spotify is working on better recommendation engines. YouTube is going the other way and building a podcasting feature in the YouTube environment. And then you're right that LinkedIn is doing more short form video, which is really powerful on LinkedIn. But if they then add a long form option, which is engaging into podcast content, why not? I mean, Spotify bought Anchor.
Yeah.
YouTube required software companies all the time. I think that there's something there because I want to engage with content, and I'm happy if I don't leave the LinkedIn app. I'm happy about that, but I hate being penalized for like putting in a click and a link on a post.
I was going to get to that. That's precisely something I wanted to touch on, because we all know, or us that are like actively posting, when you do a LinkedIn post, if you attach an external link on that post, like your impressions are going to go like boom.
Yeah, you're going to get
like
this.
you get slant, and like to a point where you're not going to do it. Like, if you're not going to give a direct link even for an event that's important for you because of the penalization. It's because you just don't get the impressions. And honestly, I'm not a fan of how they're doing that because, I don't think it's a right way to keep users. You shouldn't lock users in. You shouldn't force users to stay in the platform. You should build the platform in a way where users don't need to leave it. So that's where I agree with you when you say podcast. They need to identify the main reasons why people are leaving their platform and what for, and kind of just develop it in that direction. And I think podcasts are a big part of that.
Brilliant. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. We're going to put a link to AIMFOX in the show notes. It is an affiliate link. If you click on that, it's really great for the podcast and great for us too. Check out AIMFOX.com if you want to see more information. You can check out AIMFOX on Product Hunt. It got product of the day, product of the week, and number 3, the product of the month. It's got some great reviews. So, Alex, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and thanks for being a sponsor.
Likewise, Justin. Thank you for having me, and it was an awesome chat.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.